All I can say is God bless Pete Hegseth.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God bless that man, calling in the generals, telling them we're tired of fat soldiers and fat sailors. We are going to meet the standard, laying down the law. God bless that man.
What do you got for me? Yeah, what do you got for me? Baby, would you stand and fight?
Hi, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like this content, then please visit cooleyconservatives.com and click the Buy Me a Coffee option to leave us a tip. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Truth Social. Oh, and you can get our content in your email inbox once a week by subscribing at cooleyconservatives.com. Thanks again. Take care and God bless.
All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Speakeasy Conversations. I have my good friends, Mr. and Mrs. Laskey, here today, and I'm just going to kick it right off to you guys. Robert, let's start with you. What is your origin story? What calls you into a life of service?
Well, basically, back in the 80s, I was living in Central Ohio. Unfortunately, horrible place. Absolutely horrible place. And I was in high school, and I was in the basement after partaking of a certain herb because it was the 80s, and that it was what it was. And the recruiter called me, and he said, "Hey, have you thought of joining the Army?" And I said, "Nope." He said, "Do you want to?" And I said, "Okay." And a year later, I was in basic training at the age of 18. I did 6 years active duty, got out, went to California, went to school. Then in 2000, I rejoined. I'd gotten my degree in nursing. We're both registered nurses. So I got my degree in nursing, and I rejoined the Army Reserves as a Nurse Corps officer. And then I spent another 12 years in the Army Reserves in the Nurse Corps. Did some missions, and later on we were deployed together. So, and then I got out. Initially I went in just because I was a high school kid who really didn't know what he was going to do.
Sure.
But then in 2000, I have a military history in my family. My grandfather was a World War II vet, both grandfathers. My stepfather was a Vietnam vet. He was in the Navy off the coast of Vietnam. My uncle was an Army vet stationed in Germany during the Cold War. So we had a lot of military history in the family. And, you know, at the time, when I came in, Reagan had become president. There was a lot of national pride. And it's the best thing I ever did. It was absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, and then obviously now you're involved in the political arena. How did that end up leading into like your position in helping out with politics?
Well, when you serve in the military, you develop a sense of duty. And especially with a lot of politics these days, everyone sees the division and how crazy it's getting and how nuts people are getting. And when you have a duty to the nation and you see that stuff happening, you got to jump in. There's no other possibility. You have to jump in, and peacefully through the process, and by giving of your time, sometimes of giving of your property and your assets, you do what you have to do to help the nation. And around here, the nation starts locally.
Yeah.
So you've got to do something, whether it's monetarily or with your time or with your effort. You've got to do something.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think our mutual friend, Derek Van Orden, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but him and I have a very similar way of putting it. I always told people, even though I didn't serve active duty in the Marine Corps, I went through officer candidate school, got injured, washed out. So I didn't go in active duty, but I did take the oath to defend the Constitution. And I think the way Derek Van Orden puts it is that oath never expires.
You are correct, sir.
So that oath continues. Defending the Constitution is still a thing.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else on
No.
your end of things?
No, that's the origin.
All right.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about your origin, and then we'll talk about how you guys converge in your origins.
Yeah. Well, my story is completely different. When I was 10 years old, I was just playing with my little sister in the living room, and the black and white TV was on, because that's what it was then. And I saw a ship traveling in water, and it was called the ship Hope. And it had doctors and nurses that were going to Indonesia to take care of the people there who didn't have good health care.
Where was this at that you saw it?
In Rock Falls, Illinois. That's where
Wow.
we lived at the time. And I remember actually stopping what I was doing because I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to go where nobody wants to go and then take care of people who are there. And so I knew I was going to be a nurse, and I believed that. When I graduated high school, I went to Rockford, Illinois, and I went to school there. And you study all the specialties, but when I got into the ER, I was sold. I was completely sold. I liked the blood and the gore
Oh
and
my goodness.
things
You
going.
are a very
Mhm.
courageous woman. I couldn't do it.
No, it takes no courage. It just takes the want to. Because I thought, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be an ER nurse. So when I graduated, I got married, had 4 children. But at the age of 34, then I realized I'm very patriotic. I want to give my time and talent to where it's needed best in the military. So I joined the Wisconsin Army National Guard that was based in Madison, but I drilled in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And that's where I learned to be a soldier.
Nice.
And during that time, I ended up in Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm. I was in charge of a ward, and we really expected to have thousands of injuries. It could be a long war. So me being an ER nurse, I just hung everything up on the tent that I knew I'd need for intubation. And if we're doing suturing or if we have to send them off to surgery, it was like an ER because I wanted to be ready. Well, the war was short. And instead of taking care of wounded Allied forces, my ward became the EPW ward, Enemy Prisoners of War. They don't call them
Interesting.
POWs anymore at that time. So
Interesting.
I actually took care of casualties that were Saddam's people. And it might surprise most people to know that these were not real soldiers. They were just scraped up, and they'd go to a town and say, okay, if you're between this age, you're going into the service now. So there were high school teachers there, there were businessmen, and one of the young guys in my ward was just young, maybe 18 or 19. And he, through the translator that we had, he said that his brother was hanged because he refused to go. So, of course, then he volunteered. So, short war.
Is it really volunteering when
Yeah.
you're conscripted like that, though?
No, it's not. But it was a short war, and I was grateful, and I went home. And I also later went to Kosovo for a NATO peacekeeping mission. I was the ER officer in charge there. But then the story of Iraq, we all know how that war started. That's also when I met him. And I knew I wanted to be where the action was. This was just right down my alley. And I was surprised because I was cross-leveled to where I didn't really belong to the Boston unit that was going, but they needed ER nurses. And because of my history, that's how I ended up getting cross-leveled to the 399th. And they also made me the officer in charge of the ER because we were doing split ops. One part was going north to Mosul. The other was going to Tikrit. And they said I needed to choose my assistant. He's a flight nurse, and that means he knows trauma. So I interviewed him, and I said, do you know how to do computers? And he said, yeah, I'm passable, which meant he was
Mhm.
wonderful because I knew from past experience I'd have to do these pie charts
Oh, boy.
that I didn't know how to do on a computer. And I thought, well, I'm going to task him to do it. But what got him the job was I was afraid of somebody interviewing and say, well, I want to sit in the office and just do the paperwork. But his first words were, do I have to sit in an office? So
Mhm.
I thought, well, you got the job now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was really romantic because the very first words she ever spoke to me when we met were, Captain Laskey, we need to talk.
Yeah. Yep. I
Yep.
still say that.
It's never something you want to hear from a commanding officer.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me more about the meeting and then the how you converged and like so you served together like literally in the same unit then?
Yeah, it's how we met. I was also cross-leveled, and cross-leveling means there's a unit going and they're short. So they pull up people from other units to fill their empty slots. And I was in a Kentucky unit. So I was cross-leveled as well. And at the time, all of the combat support hospitals, they trained at Fort McCoy. They have the DEPMES, the Department of Medical Training at Fort McCoy. So we went there for 3 months to train up and prepare to going to Iraq. And that's where we got divided up into our different sections. We got assigned, we got prepared, we got trained up, everything got ready. And us working together, we just made a great team. Everything clicked. She was the boss. I did what she said, kind of like now.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect practice.
Yep. And we just ran a fantastic emergency section.
Yeah, we did. We were called the A team.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's called a CASH, Combat Support Hospital. And you remember watching MASH? That was the Mobile Armored Surgical Hospital. They don't have those anymore. Now it's changed over to CASH. Basically the same mission, a little bit more technology, but it's the same thing. And we were with a CASH. So we were in theater. We did the same thing, mass casualties coming in, helicopters coming, everybody doing triage and all the stuff that you saw in MASH, just with different uniforms and better technology.
Yeah. Well, and even today, you're still doing that type of work. It's just a little, working for, is it Gunderson, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on Gunderson's helicopter.
Yeah. So every time I hear those helicopters fly around, I'm like waving.
I'm waving back, I promise.
All right. Nice. So then, the other thing too that I was going to ask you about the kind of activities that you participated in Iraq. Obviously, I'm trying to think back to the history of this all. So we went in to topple Hussein because of weapons of mass destruction.
Correct.
And how does a medical detachment, how do you like coordinate with the other units around you because you got to have like some kind of a defense, layers and everything, I imagine.
Yep. We were at a forward operating base, a FOB.
Forward operating base.
And in Mosul, we were surrounded by the city.
Right.
But we
So you had,
also
like green zones, blue zones, all that kind of stuff.
No, we were just there.
Okay.
We were just there. We didn't have any green zones. We were close enough. We got mortared pretty frequently.
Oh my.
So we got hit with mortars. And actually, a few weeks after we got there, and what happens is there's a handoff. So we're the incoming hospital unit. The outgoing hospital unit trains us, tells us what to do, kind of gets us ready. During the transition, the bad guy decided he was going to break through the gate, because usually they'd come out of the garage, they'd lob 15, 20 mortars at us, they'd go back in the garage, because any more than that, we could pinpoint them and turn them into little black spots in the desert.
Right.
And this time they decided they were going to stay out, they were going to break through the gate, and they were going to kill us. So they kept mortaring us and kept mortaring us and kept mortaring us. And we were at the chow hall, and of course everybody was under the tables because we were getting mortared. And we had pagers that said mass cal, mass cal. So there was a mass casualty. So I looked at the colonel, and the colonel looked at me and said, and she said, "We're running." I said, "Yes, ma'am, we are." So we ran through the mortar fire to get to the hospital. And from there, we just took care of the mass casualty. And I don't think anyone died on that one.
No, what the unit that was leaving, they had an injured girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she did okay. They took her to surgery, I think. And yeah, but before we got the mass cal, so everybody's going under the tables, the servers ducked down, and we just looked at each other, and so we went to the salad bar
Yeah, actually we
and got
did.
food, and then just sat down. But then the pager said, "Okay, we've got incoming." Then we took off.
Yeah, I got to get to work at that
Yeah.
point.
And we
Yeah.
did hear bullets go by.
Oh, yeah. There was machine gun fire all over the place because they were trying to break through the wire. And they did not. Our forces stopped them pretty handily. But, of course, when you have that many mortars falling on a base, then, people were injured.
It's
Fortunately.
definitely going to have an impact.
Yeah, that time nobody was killed, so we were pretty fortunate.
Wow. That's incredible. How many other types of activities like that happened?
We got mortared quite a bit. We were there for about 6 months. Then they decided that the Marines needed a better hospital. So they picked us up out of Mosul and they sent us to Al Assad, which is a Marine area. And we went to a place called Camp Cupcake. That was the nickname. Because
I was going to say, that doesn't sound very Arab.
No.
yeah, it was the Al Assad Air Base.
Okay.
But it was in such a remote location that it was almost never hit by the bad guys because they could be seen coming from 40 miles away and the air units would just turn them into black spots.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Interesting. So being able to see them coming, obviously you have all kinds of things in defense ready to go.
Yeah, when you're surrounded by city that's filled with insurgents, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
When you're out in the desert, we did a lot of air operations out there. I was also the chief flight nurse for the hospital, so I did flight nursing over there as well.
Oh,
So we carried casualties over the desert by air, and Al Assad was a huge, huge Marine air base. All of the C-130s and the C-5s and all of the Navy aircraft flew out of that spot as well.
wow.
Something of interest, though, is that when we got there, we didn't have a hospital.
So you had started up from
It
scratch?
it was basically the size of a double wide, would you say?
Yeah.
About right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were just getting the shell put up. Some of our soldiers did kind of help with getting that done. But then when we got into our ER portion, it's completely empty. And so we had to put together trauma bays. We had to put the nurses station together. And then we had no wood for furniture. I did order all of that, but it didn't show up. And the one thing of shelving that I ordered, the OR decided it was theirs because they wanted it for their shelves. So we had nurses and medics making all the side tables so we could put our equipment on it. And then we also had a general that said we had to have it done in 1 month to be operational.
How long does it usually take?
Usually we can do it in 72 hours, but that's if we use the tents and all the stuff that they send with us. They wanted a hardened facility.
Yeah.
So the engineers were there and they were basically taking 20 double wides, patching them together into a hospital. And then we had to put in all the medical stuff after they got it built. In the meantime, we were training. We were helping the Navy shock trauma unit. They were a level 2, which means they weren't quite as capable. We were a level 3. We had more stuff, more people, more training. So we helped them with stuff as well. But a lot of it was just getting the hospital and putting it together. And it was,
Yeah, a challenge.
yeah, and it was 120, 130 degrees out.
Yeah. And where do you find wood in the desert? We had to procure it,
Yeah.
which meant we borrowed it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, and I was wondering too, like electricity and making sure you had the equipment powered and everything. I mean, that's got to be complicated.
Army engineers.
Yeah.
And there it was Navy and Marine engineers. And we had diesel generators.
Okay.
And we had big diesel generators.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the hospital and the living areas the hospital had good air conditioning. We lived in basically tiny shipping containers that had a light, a couple of outlets, a window, and a tiny air conditioner in it.
Mhm.
And that's what we lived in.
Yeah, I've had other friends kind of describe it the same way, like little container ship.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
called a CHU. CHU.
A CHU, containerized housing unit.
Oh, clever.
CHU. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got it done.
Mhm.
I even wrote somebody back home, send me shower curtains so we could put, if we needed privacy, we put that between the beds. So
Yeah,
got
Mhm.
it done.
whatever works, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you're in a situation where you just got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You improvise, you do what you got to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we ended up with Bronze Stars for doing this.
Wow, no
We
kidding.
were the only unit
So you
during
guys were
that.
like rock stars.
Well, we were the only unit during that wartime that moved from one location to another and completely put up a functioning hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had to pack up every IV, every little bit of tubing, every piece of equipment in one hospital, put it on a C5, unload it, finish building the hospital, then unload all of that stuff, then put it in the hospital, then get prepared, and then we start taking casualties.
Wow.
It was a little bit of work.
That's incredible. God bless you guys for that kind of service. I mean, that's amazing stuff.
Mhm.
And here you are, just in little old La Crosse County now.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So now you can't tell by looking at people most of the time who the veterans are and all of that stuff. You've got an absolutely wonderful former Sunday school teacher and a crusty old male nurse, and now we're just loving life in La Crosse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, now I want to talk a little bit more about your experience with music. Tell me how you got into music.
Oh, well, I graduated high school in 1984. So, of course, if you're going to smoke the things you smoke in high school in 1984, you have to listen to Black Sabbath and Ozzy and Led Zeppelin and Rush and all that stuff. And I always wanted to be a famous heavy metal guitarist. So my first job in the Army was I was in the Army band. So, and people don't know it, the Army has, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, they all have bands, and that's their only job, is to be the band. You go through 6 months of school, and if you wash out, you become infantry. And
6 months of school for that.
6 months of school.
Interesting.
And you have to audition. You already have to be a musician before you go
Okay.
in. Then you get assigned to a band. I spent 4 years at Fort Knox with their band. Then I spent a year in South Korea with the Army band there. And I played baritone, horn, trombone, and guitar. We actually had a heavy metal band
You're pretty darn talented.
to play for the troops. And interestingly, you always have a secondary mission, and the band's secondary mission in Seoul was to be the riot control police. So when the students demonstrated, we would get our 3-foot oak batons, and we would get our big plastic shields, and we would stand there. And in front of us were the Korean riot control police, who were all 3rd and 4th degree black belts in Taekwondo. The rioters weren't going to get to us.
Right.
We just kind of stood there and watched.
That's interesting. I didn't realize you served in Korea too.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I moved to California. I went to the Musicians Institute studying guitar, graduated with honors, and promptly began to starve because musicians don't make money.
Right.
So that's when I started going to college for nursing. And I still play guitar around here. For a while, I played in a country band. We even played Country Boom on the main stage.
You were telling me one night that you
Yeah.
hate country music.
Yeah. I can't do country music now. The band, it was fun. It was fun. Right now, the only place that I play guitar is I play in our church praise group.
Nice.
And he doesn't smoke anything like that
No,
anymore.
nope.
He gave
Nope.
that up a long time ago, right?
Gave it up with basic training.
Well done. Well done. Now, the library, I got to know more about this museum library that you have.
Well, first of all, you have to know I'm an avid reader.
You and my wife would get along very
Oh,
well.
yeah. When I was a kid, I would ride my bike to this small little library, and I even loved the smell of the books. And I was able to navigate the Dewey Decimal System that they don't even use anymore. But yeah, I would just read and read and read. So, of course, I start collecting books throughout my life, and I like the classics. It's very eclectic. I mean, I love people's stories. So I like biographies. I like history, but it's not like they teach in high school. When did this war start? Who was in it? And all of this. I don't care about that. Tell me about how it impacted the people. Who were the great leaders and why were they? Things like that. So,
Have you read any of the Brian Kilmeade books?
yeah,
The
actually,
one that he did about Washington's spy network, I thought was really well done.
yeah,
Because like you're saying, he gets into how it really impacted families and the
right.
people that were
Yeah.
there.
And I liked even for a while, it was all about the Civil War. How common women, because they wore those billowy dresses, were great for being spies. Because you wouldn't be able to touch them and be improper to look there. So
And you could hide spy equipment.
Mhm.
it was usually communication. So, but yeah, I like people's stories.
Yeah, that's great.
Hmm.
That's really great.
And of course, if I ever need to get her a gift, I know where to get her an antique from history.
Yeah.
And her library is also a museum,
Hmm.
That's awesome.
which is very, very cool.
Yeah. I have a Civil War letter from a soldier to his mother.
Wow. Where do you find good stuff like that?
in West Salem was this little shop, and he would go down south and bring back memorabilia, like a sword. I have the sword, a Civil War sword, and then also the little cup that you can collapse. The soldier would hold if they needed a drink. They just opened that up, and you had a place to drink from. And so, yeah. And I did have some musket bullets, but they kind of walked away. So,
Yeah, I'm not quite that. I don't want to work that hard, so I just get on eBay.
eBay is where you
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. I found her a Bible that was printed in 1640 on
mhm.
eBay. Facebook Marketplace, I found her some really nice antique stained glass windows
Oh,
that work
yeah.
in the library. I found her a nice lectern for where she does her Bible studies.
hmm
So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
hmm
Well, in like for somebody who's never done any antiquing, you mentioned West Salem. Are there any other areas in the area? In the local?
I don't seek them out. It's just I just come across it.
My brother-in-law's over in the Oshkosh area, and he has a couple of places that he hits, and like Nina, and I think is one of them,
hmm
and then Appleton. I think he
But then you
mentioned is
can
another
crowd
place.
out. My library's crowded, mostly with books. So,
Yeah, good for you.
uh-huh.
That's great. That's everything I had for today. What else do we need to talk about?
I would like to tell you about the book I wrote.
Oh, I didn't realize you wrote a book.
I
Please
did.
continue.
I'll try to be brief. Basically, because I'm an avid reader, I loved reading stories of the World War II nurses, the Vietnam nurses, and with the World War II, most people don't realize they were not military trained. They were just kind of scooped up as a group and then they taken to the war zone and told to put together a hospital. But now nurses have to be soldiers as well. Have to know how to don gas mask. We have to shoot the M16 and qualify. And we have to do a lot of they even were making the women for a while in our unit do hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
And then they found out, no, we shouldn't be doing that. So we didn't. So after the war, we were living in Kentucky, married by then. And I thought, okay, nurses, where are your stories? There were none. In fact, there's still none. The only thing on the internet you will find is someone else gathering the stories for nurses, taking excerpts of their life. But my book is called Journal from Iraq, a nurse's story, because I actually did journal. I used to do that as a kid, continued throughout my life. So all I had to do was read the journal. Oh yeah, on this date, this happened. And so I took those and turned it into a book with some photos, and it takes us from the beginning at Fort McCoy, all the training we went through, and then the 2 locations in Iraq, till finally through to the end.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And coming from a historian, I got my degree in history.
Uh-huh.
Putting together that kind of information is critical.
Well, nobody else was
Like you were
writing
saying,
it.
people just
Yeah.
don't think about it, but having a journal and then turning it into an actual, I mean,
hmm
because 100 years from now, no one's ever going to know unless there's somewhere you can find it.
Yeah, the book's on
hmm
Amazon, getting good reviews. And but mostly the reason I wrote it too is it's a legacy for me. But I wanted families back home to know what we did when they sent their sons and husbands and wives and daughters to war. Who's going to take care of them when they're wounded? And one thing I want your viewers to know is we had a triage tent outside of our hospital where the incoming, we check them. Oh, this is minimal. Doesn't need to go in through the ER. But on the top of that tent, we had the American flag so that when they came in on those gurneys, they could look up and see that they were in good hands
Right on.
with American care.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, you probably noticed the big American flag out front.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in that flag,
Sure.
obviously.
Whether they knew what was going on because things were happening in a hurry, but if they could see the American flag,
Mhm.
they knew they were in good hands, and that's what I
Yep.
wanted Americans to know.
That is terrific. And like I said, God bless you for writing a book like that people can actually go and find. I mean, as I mentioned, 100 years from now, no one's ever going to know anything
Yeah.
about us
That's history.
unless we leave something behind.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
history.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. Well, and it actually occurs to me too. So your romance starts up in Iraq. How does it turn into, okay, now you guys are dating?
Well, actually, in Iraq, we were just colleagues and friends.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of chance to be romantic.
That's why I'm
yeah.
curious. How did this work?
No, and once we got back from Iraq, we spent some time at Fort McCoy because you also have to demobilize. You have to turn in your equipment and you have to get debriefed and they have to make sure you're not crazy and do a medical exam. And at that point, we started talking and we said, we really like each other.
Mhm.
Let's work on this.
Yeah.
And then she took a leap of faith because I moved back to Kentucky because that's where my kids were and that's where my life were. Her kids were grown. And at that point, we started dating. And a couple of years later, we were married.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got married 2 years after we came back.
Yep.
So the post-war
Mhm.
is where it really kindled into
Yeah.
a love.
Yeah.
We knew we had such a solid friendship.
Mhm.
We've been through so much.
Yeah.
We knew each other better than we knew our spouses.
Yeah. How many people have been through rocket attacks together and then gotten married?
Yeah. Live through it, tell the tale,
Yeah.
support each other through that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That I can't even imagine. God bless you guys for serving in all of those capacities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy that you came out here. This is like one of the, so we were talking about, you're the first pair
Mm-hmm.
of guests.
Yeah.
So this
Yep.
is going to be a good, I guess, scaling my system to make sure it all works out okay. So far, everything is working well. So
Perfect.
I appreciate you coming in for this. Anything else that you want to add before I turn off the recording?
All I can say is God bless Pete Hegseth.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God bless that man, calling in the generals, telling them we're tired of fat soldiers and fat sailors. We are going to meet the standard, laying down the law. God bless that man.
Yeah. Well, and the warrior ethos is back in the military.
Yes, sir.
It
None of
is.
this woke BS anymore.
Yeah.
Correct.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah. You can't give a card and say, I'm stressed, so leave me alone.
Hmm.
Well, and look at the way the recruiting is skyrocketing now because of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, right now she has a grandson who is in infantry school training to be a Green Beret.
Wow.
And the fact that he's doing so under President Trump and under Secretary Hegseth, oh my gosh, we are so relieved that he's not under the previous administration.
Yeah.
We're just proud of him, and we have a lot of faith in his leadership now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, God bless you guys. Thanks again.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
I'll let you get out of here now.
Hi, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like this content, then please visit cooleyconservatives.com and click the Buy Me a Coffee option to leave us a tip. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Truth Social. Oh, and you can get our content in your email inbox once a week by subscribing at cooleyconservatives.com. Thanks again. Take care and God bless.